Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Wednesday weather update for October the 12th. We are tracking some big rainmakers, mostly in the southeastern corner of Australia for Victoria and Tasmania. New Zealand's got a little bit of patchy rain, but not a huge amount. On the animated wind map today, we've added the relative humidity. So the areas that you see in bright blue, that's where humidity is highest. Doesn't mean it's muggy, it just means the air is very damp, and that encourages rain. So we're seeing patchy rain and showers around the central part of the North Island, leaning to the west, driven in by an easterly, and a few showers also around Canterbury, a couple of drizzle patches there too. Over in Australia, you can see where the heaviest rain is about to form in the Yarra Ranges just north of Melbourne, and also in the northern hills and ranges of Tasmania as this stormy system slowly moves in and it's blocked by this high. And then the other feature up here in the subtropics is a low. It's going to drift towards New Zealand this weekend, and about the same time it does that, it will suddenly decide, actually no, I'm going to go another direction. So we'll show you all of that. But we kick off with the rain maps for Australia for the next 72 hours. Main concern just north of Melbourne and in the northern part of Tasmania. The rainfall totals here could be up to 200 millimetres for Tasmania and over 150 millimetres for some parts of Victoria. And the worry is how much water will be feeding into the Murray River and other rivers that are feeding away from these places. So certainly could be some slips and flooding over the next couple of days. So here we are for Thursday, the big blocking high in the middle of the Tasman Sea, or the southern end of it, and that is holding up this rain. So the rain just moves in and then it stops and it accumulates. So we've got windy northerlies coming straight down, so it won't be cold, but rainfall totals are pretty big up here in the Yarras, but further south, this is where it gets even bigger. So from about Queenstown to Central Plateau in Tasmania, up in the hills there, you're getting 200 millimetres of rain over the next couple of days. So we do expect some slips and flooding and possibly some roads being impacted by that. Now in New Zealand, not as dramatic, just a few showers, patchy kind of rain, similar to what we've seen for Wednesday today, still with that easterly flow, but the high pretty much dominating for the South Island. And it does even more so on Friday as it crosses over. So very nice end to the week in the South Island, a little bit frosty inland, a little bit cold at night, but then a beautiful day on the way afterwards and mild with winds coming out of the north. Maybe not mild for everybody if you're in the eastern side with a nor'easter, that's not usually the warmest. Few showers in the north here, but look at this. This is the easterly flow for New Zealand. And just over the other side of the Tasman, a big, strong westerly flow. And still that rain cloud being built up against the side of that high, but it's now mostly out at sea. So it breaks through and you'll see a bit of rain in Sydney and then the windy westerlies coming through. And that could be a feature for New Zealand and Australia over the next couple of weeks. It was certainly in our Climate Watch update for this month, where we said around the middle of the month, we think that the westerly winds will start to dominate a little bit more. And guess what? We're arriving at that point now. So as we go into the weekend, here comes the low from the subtropics. It's a bad analogy, but it's a little bit like when someone says, excuse me, you've got a bit of food on your face. That's what this is doing. It sort of comes in, it looks really dramatic, and then all of a sudden it just flicks off to the other side. So that's about as close as it will get. It might get a little closer. So showers and a bit of wind for the northeastern corner here. Good for surfers with the conditions coming through, but not likely to make a direct hit because we've still got high pressure around us. And that front from Australia is pushing further out towards us on Saturday. By Sunday though, that front falls apart, running into all that high pressure. And this low decides, no, I'm going to go off to the east. And so it brings in wind and rain for the Chatham Islands. Also on Sunday, a little bit of a cold southerly coming through for Southland. It's nothing major, but just a bit of a temperature drop for you. And over in Australia, things settling down with high pressure, but not quite for everybody in Tasmania, especially on that western side, still a bit showery and windy. So next week, Monday, kicks off with a bit of a messy weather map, really. Sort of no big highs, no big lows. It's all a bit fickle, and we're seeing sort of southerlies on this side, northerlies on this side, and a bit of a westerly flow for the New Zealand area. And then we get to Tuesday of next week, and you can see that cold front moving back in. I'm sorry to say, yes, another burst of rain and wind. Hopefully the totals won't be as big, but again, high pressure out in the Tasman, slowing things down a bit, and we've even got a bit of rain now up there in Queensland, mostly inland areas getting a bit of wet weather. And the last feature, Tuesday next week, that cooler air moves further up the South Island. So nothing major, certainly not like the blast we just had a couple of weeks ago, but this is pretty typical spring weather now that we're getting. That's all from me. We'll see you again tomorrow with our next update.